folks. Welcome back to another edition of Amped Up. Technically Amped Up with Cliff Schechter. I'm going to ruin the surprise. I am Cliff Schechter, but we like to call it Amped Up more often now because I always have my partner in crime, David Schuster, on with me. And, he's like better than I am at being an anchor. So it kind of feels like it should be Amped Up with David Schuster and like that other guy in the corner or something of that nature. And like, hey, there's Cliff sitting in the toddler's chair in the corner. But hey, listen, I can't help it that somebody at Substack was drunk and they gave me a show. So I decided I was going to run with it. In any case, it is a windy and not so sunny day here in the Queen City, the wonderful radio city of Cincinnati. We have lots to talk about, and we have lots of cool people, lots being two, to talk about with it. Talk about it with English. Sorry for the Trumpism there. We have David Schuster, already mentioned, Emmy winner, former host on MSNBC and CNN. We have Dana DuBois, who, if there are many reasons I could love Dana, but, just that last name, parce que je parle français, donc c'est très joli. And so, of course, I want to have Dana out here. And she also is very smart and is the host of the Daily Whatever show that if you're not watching, honestly, I don't know what the hell else you're doing at 10 a.m. Every day. But here on Substack with Lawrence Winterman, they do the Daily Whatever show, and it is outstanding. I got a chance to go on it earlier this week. They probably had somebody cancel that day, but I snuck in. And it was fun, and it was a great time, and a great way to spend your morning. And you absolutely should go check that out. Seriously. And Dana also is the founder of Gen Xy, a Substack that is, it's kicking some stack, if you will. And I like it a lot because I'm Gen Xy. So, anything she could talk about in there about like, Guns N' Roses or Cobra Kai, like I'm good to go. You know what I mean? So Dana's here. I just saw the lovely, we love Cliff. Oh, Veronica, you're so kind. The love is mutual. It goes back in all directions. Lefty Gramps is here. My man, Lefty Gramps is shows up at our Substack lives. He's here for the ones we do from StreamYard to the 47 platforms we go to. Thank you for being here. I'm going to just hello, Sparkler here. We may have a Sparkler raid from Al Sparks and my friends over there. So welcome, Sparklers. If you're here, join us. It shall be fun. We're going to get David Schuster out here, and we're going to get Dana DuBois out here. And oh my God, I believe we have a quorum.
Hello, Dana.
Hello, David.
Nice to have you. Nice to meet you.
Fabulous to meet you as well. It's such an honor to meet you, to be here. Cliff, people are going to start talking about us. This is the second time in has it been 36 hours?
That's true. We're spending so much time together. And as I said,
it's so nice.
I mean, le nom français, c'est parfait pour moi. C'est très joli. I could go on forever and just make people.
Español, por favor. Yeah.
By the way, Dana, this is a very special day for Blue Amp because we have this whole sort of new color scheme with the logo and everything that our team has done. So you're helping us inaugurate this. We're getting professional here.
Fabulous. And by our team, my hair, we're kind of red, white, and blue.
And by our team, he what David really meant was a guy sitting here checking out and making sure everything's going well for us, Lawrence Winterman, who is, as you may have learned in the 47 years, I think you said you've known him.
Yes.
He's like smart and stuff.
Lawrence is one of, if not the smartest and best human I've had the pleasure to know for almost the entirety of my life. Yes, we met in fourth grade.
Wow.
In a portable classroom, Mrs. Flynn's classroom in fourth grade.
And now they've moved back to portable classrooms, I believe, because, Elon Musk needed a new yacht. So, I mean, it all comes full circle. So do you know, David, Dana is out in Seattle.
Yep.
Yeah.
a beautiful, wonderful town, and easily one of 2 or 3. Funny, you guys are and not funny. Now Lawrence is getting pissed at me because funny, ironically,
Okay.
we're playing the Blue Jays in that was an incredible series, and you should have won it, and I'm sorry you didn't. But those are probably
Okay.
2 major cities in North America that I've not been to that I really, really want to go to. Like, I've been to something like 42, 43 states. I've been to Canada a number of times, Montreal, Quebec City, you name it. And yet somehow I have not been to Seattle and I have not been to Toronto. So when I come out there, I expect some, I mean, people may say more about us then and get us in trouble, but we'll bring David, and that way we can we'll have the 3 of us. We'll do
Oh my gosh.
we'll do like those outtakes from Laverne and Shirley where we'll all sit on the bikes together.
We're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it. Like, I'll crash into shit. See, I'm going into Gen X shit already. We'll crash into walls and stuff. It'll be fun.
Well, let
Give
me
us
get
any
this
chance,
started.
we'll take it.
Yeah, David's like, Cliff, shut up, and I'm gonna get to the
No,
serious stuff.
I want to say, I mean, you mentioned Toronto. Thankfully I've been to Toronto and Seattle, but Cliff, we were halfway to Toronto on a trip probably a couple of months ago, and this relates, Dana, to something that you wrote about, because you wrote a column. And by the way, for our audience, Dana's everywhere: Medium, Substack. She's made appearances all over the place. One of your columns that sort of jumped out to me is you wrote talking about being a Gen X parent and having middle-aged men ogling your 16-year-old daughter. Well,
Yes, indeed, I did.
We were halfway to Toronto at a water park in upstate New York, and my wife caught a middle-aged man at the water park ogling our 12-year-old daughter.
That's about when it starts, if not earlier.
So my question to you is, my wife, I thought she handled it really well. She essentially shamed the man and said, she's 12. What are you doing? He's like, but what was going through your mind as a parent, and what prompted you to write the column about it?
Those are all great questions. So the story that you're referencing is documenting a day when my kids and I were at the Fremont Solstice Parade, which out here in Seattle is an annual celebration of the summer solstice. And it's this giant party in a formerly bohemian, now kind of bougie bohemian neighborhood. And it kicks off every year with the riding of the naked cyclists. And it is not sexual, even though they're naked. It's hilarious. It's
of course
joyous.
It's not, but
They're
it's something that makes
body paint
conservatives cry. So,
Right. So we were there. It was mobbed, and this is all important for context, I think. And it was kind of what kicked this memoir-like piece into motion. The incident in question wasn't like this overwhelming leer, and it wasn't something that made me feel unsafe. It wasn't something that my daughter felt unsafe about. At this point, this was a year and a half ago now, so she was 16. She'd been leered at already for years. And it was a microaggression, and it passed in a flash. I describe it in the story as something that happens. I mean, almost every day we're spending time together. I can't help but notice it. But in this case, I sort of quickly made eye contact in the moments that the 3 of us passed one another, right?
Yeah.
To have stopped and made a scene about it would have halted us from the rush we were in to get to the parade. And it also would have been making a proverbial mountain out of a molehill. This was just an ordinary moment in time, right? And that's kind of why I wrote about it, because if he had done something that made us feel unsafe in any way, if he'd made a really big show of it, I would have had no problem going into mama bear mode and sort of, growing 5 feet taller and protecting my young, so to speak. But that's not what happens most of the time to women and to girls. It's these microaggressions that pass that if you underline them, it's pretty easy to be dismissive, for people to be dismissive. And if you look at the comments the story has gotten, which there have been hundreds, the ones from women primarily are like, yep, I've experienced this. I've experienced this as myself. I've experienced it as a mom. Totally get it. Thank you for writing this. Some of the men have weighed in with similar feelings, but a lot of men have weighed in and just been like, you're blowing this up. It's normal for us to look at women. And then they start going to very creepy places. It's biology. It's evolution. They're the right breeding age. You're raising your daughters wrong and you're letting them go out of the house dressed like sluts. Then it starts going
Oh,
there,
that's a
right?
good one.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. For following fashion norms, which we could have a whole conversation about.
Can I just say something
what fashion
quickly?
norms are. Of course.
Because this whole, again, I often sort of say, right, like evolution determines a lot of what we do. Biology does. Yes, that's absolutely correct. But if we had the whole point of this thing called civilization is if we couldn't control that, we'd still be cavemen and we'd just go up and hit you over the head and do whatever we would do. Like we've actually evolved beyond that to where we have something, this weird thing where like we have the ability to reason, a parietal lobe, and you can actually think and say, well, that would be disgusting of me to do. That would be wrong of me to do. That would make her feel uncomfortable. Yes, as men, if you're attracted to women, you do. You notice somebody or whatever, but you can very easily, I mean, do something surreptitiously or guess what? Maybe just
100%.
hold on and not look at all. Oh my God, are you going to be okay? And so that kind of crap. I mean, we're evolutionary. Evolution just determines we're attracted to you guys. It doesn't determine the behavior that follows that.
1,000%. And very similar to the response I gave to some of the men I replied to. Men know what they're doing when they do this because, right, if it were all just instinct, urge, and evolution, we'd be defecating in the streets like our president just did through AI.
I was just saying we'd be like Donald Trump if
right?
we literally just acted on every base instinct without any logic. We'd be Trump.
I have an urge, I act. Like that's not how civilization works. And men demonstrate every day that they know how this works because they wouldn't behave like this to their bosses. They wouldn't behave like this to, members of their clergy if they're a part of a church. They don't behave like this if they're, hopefully, if they're fathers to daughters, with their own daughters, with their daughters' friends. There are ways that we behave, and I am not asking that men not notice when a girl or a young woman walks by who is attractive. Of course, it's normal and human to notice, but there's a difference between looking and leering. And a look can be surreptitious. I love that word. Thank you for using it. It's quiet, it's personal. We all look at things all the time and we don't draw attention to ourselves for doing it. A leer and ogle is different.
Yes.
And it is involving the other person in the act.
Quite purposely, I think.
Purposefully. And in doing it, it makes women and girls feel unsafe. There's no question in my mind that part of that equation of that sort of look is destabilizing the receiver of the look. Even if just
my
for a
next
moment.
question before I kick it back over to Cliff, and that is, thankfully in our case, our daughter didn't notice. It was just my wife who had a side conversation with this guy, and that was that. But as she gets older, I would imagine that she will start to notice this. Did your daughter, in this particular instance, notice it, or has she noticed it before? How have you explained this to her, and what's been her view on all of it?
That's a long, complicated
and I asked this as a parent of a tween to be, because I'm terrified about this stuff for my daughter.
This is kind of a big crux of the story that I wrote, and the challenges of parenting a girl right now, which is how do you embolden your child? How do you embolden her to come into her power and to say, of course, you can dress the way you want to dress. You should not feel fearful walking through the world. You should hold your head high and stand your ground. And also, you need to be really aware of how men will respond when you dress certain ways. You need to be aware of your surroundings. And you need to start gaining this awareness and this sort of intuition that all women develop of what's just a microaggression and a look, and what's something that actually puts you at risk. And the sad truth is of the matter, we never know. You never know when that microaggression has the ability to turn into something more. And therefore, at a certain level, they all come as an act of aggression, right? Because it has more to do with context and where you are. We were in a crowd. She was with her, her mom and younger sister, and there was no chance that we were at risk from that look. Had she been alone, somewhere dark,
If it's
that one
nighttime, you're on
little
a
look,
quiet street, everything's a little different.
everything is a little different. So if you go through the story, I intentionally keep this question troubling, and there's no answer at the end. In the end, I'm talking to her and saying, in the moment when we get to where we're seated, I say, "Did you notice that guy?" And she's like, "What, that old guy?" "Yeah, of course." And she's very dismissive of it. She has been noticing men notice her probably since she was, I don't know, 11. Like, she was early to develop, and she's beautiful. Oh, putting a pause there because I tend to be a little tangential. Do you know how many women, when I wrote this story, accused me of sexualizing my daughter by the way I describe her in this story? Not a few men, but it was mostly the women that
Sure, a
think
lot. I think we all need to come to certain
yeah,
conclusions when it comes to all of this, and I've tried to just when friends of mine, other people that aren't used to what we were used to, which is there are a lot of great people right now, for example, in these comments, and there'll probably a few people will sneak in that will be awful. Um, there are bots, and then there also are pathetic human beings out there
right.
who just need the attention, and they will do that kind of thing. And
Sure.
so you just start learning that when you write something like that, who knows if they were real, and if they were real, like there are people that for some reason it's exciting to get attention by upsetting somebody with a comment.
It
And
is.
that's that whoever did that study on comment on people that troll people in comments, and the large percentage of them beyond the percentage of our population that are sociopaths or narcissists, or
Sure.
you just kind of because I mean at this point, like, not only do comments that are negative not bother me, I have to try to stop myself often from mocking and ripping into them, because people be like, Don't bother," but I have fun with
Yeah.
it. I think,
It can
so
be
I
fun
hope you
to,
didn't take any of those women seriously, because, you know, this is all one dimensional, and nobody, when you write, especially, at least people see the three of us right now. When you write something and somebody just responds, they don't know who you are. They don't know your background. They don't know where you're from. They don't know what actually, they don't know anything, but they're
they
suddenly an
don't.
expert on everything.
Right.
And there, this is, I think, where there just are a lot of people who feel like disempowered in their lives, but they can be experts when they comment on here and rip you apart. And fuck them. I mean, honestly,
Calling me a terrible, I got called a terrible mom, and I got called ugly a lot, and how
they do that too.
I'm just jealous of my daughter, and I'm not. But here's the thing that is part of the story. It was intentionally really nuanced and had no answers, because these questions are nuanced and have no answers. But it is a very strange feeling as a Gen X mom of teen daughters, like feeling the that male gaze that can feel so threatening, pull coming off of me and moving onto her, and it feels like this this like baton in a relay I never wanted to hand to her, because of the dangers that can come with it. And also, yeah, I mean, of course there's a grief in getting older and being like, wow, I'm no longer a beauty standard if I ever was. I was never, honestly, never the beauty that my daughters are. And I
Oh,
say that
stop
in,
it.
no, it's true.
You're gonna make
And I'm
me
not,
say something that's gonna get me, further
yeah,
get
I
stuff
mean,
out there about it.
no, I'm not doing that to be, to put myself down. It's,
I mean, you're no
there
David
are things,
Schuster, but you're pretty damn good.
but, it's watching all of this, them coming into their power. There are women who commented on how powerful they have felt or still feel when they are attracting a male gaze. Like, there's truth in all of the parts, but at the end of it, and the scariest part of this moment in time, is we're raising daughters, moms like me are now raising daughters in a world where, if the worst case scenario comes true, what will the consequences be, when at the very highest level of power we have this
A
leader,
rapist.
a rapist, let's just call
I mean,
it.
he's
Sorry,
been
I was like, am
adjudicated
I
a
going to get you
rapist.
in trouble if I use the R
Not a
word?
claim. A judge said it, so
Yes,
you know.
you're right, it's not something that's libelous, he's a rapist. And right around the time I wrote this was when he was elected, and Nick Fuente came forward with that "Your Body, My Choice." That
Yeah.
That got flattened out that came out on social media, and it became this, well, Trump card. Haha. Boy, he's ruined a good verb, hasn't he? But it's good in that case. It is a Trump card, literally, of, yeah, your body, my choice. And in ways, he's not wrong. Like, what would the consequences in the US be when there are men walking around who, a very decent chunk of our population walking around who are like, well, yeah, 14 is kind of peak age of fertility, and evolution says that I'm supposed to want this, so I want it. And it's
Well, I think
fair.
we're going to get into a broader conversation because that's
We
why I
are.
put sort of had the thumbnail and the overall, because, you know, with, and
Notice.
I'm going to butcher the name because I'm sorry, Virginia Guffrey. I think I'm mispronouncing her last name. But her new book just came out, and that's why that story you wrote made me think of that.
Yes.
Because we're learning all of this kind of new stuff from her book. She actually calls out Prince Andrew, who came after her, and you know, there's a lot more. I have a whole thing, and we can get into it at some point. But I just wanted to answer your question from before, you know, and say, you know, we don't ask. I would never go up to somebody black and say, you need to figure out how to stop that white guy over there from being a racist. Can you do that? And so what I'm going to say as the father of two boys is it's on me to teach them not to behave like that, which
Right.
we made one of our priorities in life, which is that you will not be that. You will learn to respect all people. You want people to respect you, right? You will treat them with the same respect. That means you will not behave like this. You will not do this. You will not say these words. You will not, you know, and so to me, it's up to people, you know, it's on people like me. I'm just gonna be honest. It's not on you or David. You know, you have to do what you have to do to keep your daughter safe. And it may be that, you know, we don't live in the perfect world we should live in. So you may have to do certain stuff and teach them certain stuff and all of that. But if we ever going to solve it, it needs to be solved by people like me, you know, or at least my children not behaving that way. The boys of the world.
Yes. I 1000% agree with you. And one of the things that makes me feel so dismal or dark about where we're heading as a country is I think we're heading in the wrong direction. It wasn't that long ago that I thought, well, you know, the Gen Zs have their shit down. Things are going to get better in future generations. But after Trump was elected again, I hate saying that, but truth, and seeing that it was young men who were one of the largest voting blocs, and knowing the influence that, like, Charlie Kirk and Turning Point have had and are continuing to have on young people growing up, it makes me really gravely concerned for
Well,
where
you should
we're
know,
headed.
and again, we can never be 100% sure, but if we want this to have at least something happy attached to it, and I want you to jump in, David, because I like you, but that I think outside of Latinos, I want to say the second biggest group that Donald Trump has hemorrhaged with are young men. I think it was a whole bros, you know, tech bro, Joe Rogan, and you know all that bullshit.
Like
You're
crap.
not being allowed to say what you want to say, and you're being, you know, your
Yeah.
rights are being taken away. And I think a lot of them at this point, who now have no jobs or no futures, and have seen, you know, and some of whom have been deported, and some of whom have been, you know, seen friends of theirs, the horrific nature of all of it. Some of them who are in the National Guard and have been sent into cities they don't want to be in or be, you know, the numbers are changing on that. And sadly, I think it's a momentary blip. And it was a huge strategic error on the Democrat side. And actually, they've said a lot of good things. I think in the time she had, Kamala Harris ran a great campaign. It wasn't like she had a ton of time there. But I think they missed that whole thing with Trump targeting, you know, young men through some of these podcasts and gaming and other stuff. And we're
Yes.
not there to counter it. And that was a big mistake.
I agree with you, Cliff. I think of the economic opportunity that no longer exists for so many young people is sort of what's driving them away from Donald Trump. But even that kind of makes me sad, because you would wish that an entire generation of young men would be so repulsed and disgusted by his misogyny and his sexism that that would be what is enough to sort of cause them to say, no, I don't want to be associated with
You're
that.
right.
I sort of feel like it is sort of the economic stuff. But to your point about Virginia Giuffre and the Epstein files, Dana, what's your sense about how this is playing out in terms of there's this, I think, fair perception that there's the Republican House trying to keep a Democrat from being sworn in because they don't want to have the 218 signatures to be able to force a vote on the Epstein files, that they want to keep the Epstein files buried. There's every indication that Republicans, a lot of them away from the microphone, will say, yeah, we think there's some really bad stuff there. How do you see this cutting both, politically, culturally? Do you see it resonating it to a certain extent in terms of this fight over the Epstein files? How do you see it?
Do you mean with everyone or particularly with young people?
Whichever way you want to go.
I think there will be no peace until those damn files are released. And every day I feel like there's a new thing that I'm like, I can't believe that I can't believe they just demolished an entire wing of the White House without any oversight. Just they knocked it down. I can't believe
because they felt like
shit
it.
on
Yeah.
this. Yeah, because he needed a big gilded ballroom. I can't believe. And the Epstein files is the one that is just persisting and persisting. But alongside it, how do you just not let someone show up for a job they were hired for? Like, how? I mean, they can't do that indefinitely, can they? This is my third live today, which is I've never done that before. But if you click back to, we had Egberto Willis on, and he was amazing, and we were talking about this whole idea of the gentleman's handshake that our country was built on. Actually, maybe it was with Marlon Weems. We were on out with him after that, and it's
Hey.
glory and all. I think we talked about it on
We all
both of
your
like
your
things that we
live
thought,
streams.
right? Things that we thought were inviolate, things that we were like, well, of course, this will stand. This is the law of the land, right? That we're like, oh, actually, that wasn't a law. It was a gentleman's agreement. And I'm using gendered language because they were all men back then. Gentleman's agreement. And like a bulldozer named Trump came in and just showed how easy it was to knock down all the norms, and has the media complicit on his side, right? So when he really, I am just not over this AI video that was released on No King's Day. I never will be. It makes me physically fucking sick is it okay that I'm swearing on here?
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah. I am fucking disgusted that a single American would see that. Our president represented an AI as a Top Gun fighter king with a crown.
Wasn't he like
dumping
orange in it,
feces-
like wearing a crown? He looked like the Burger King guy. Like even when he tries to look cool, he looks like a douche. I mean, I don't know.
Yes, and
In
it
any case.
wasn't like some bro dude made this and he shared it. Ha ha, isn't this funny? It was official. It was a White House comms team plan that they were like, you know what we're gonna do? We're so mad about the hugest protest that's ever happened in our country, 100% peaceable across every like huge city and all these small towns. We're going to take a dump on them. Like, I wouldn't think that could happen without consequence, but it's barely made a ripple. And the ripples that it has made, that I've heard of people been like, well, that's just our president. What a counter argument.
Yep.
Like, so
Or
how
it's
can
just,
we?
there's Donald Trump, for Donald Trump doing something crass, that's just what, every other day, right? And
That's
then the
just
next day,
him.
breaking the law is every other day. And you mentioned the media. I mean, I've been on this tirade personally and with family, and I was going to go off with you, Cliff. If you look at the mainstream media coverage of the demolition of part of the West Wing, hardly any corporate media, mainstream media, is explaining this is against the law. There is a planning commission that is required to give approval for this. And so it took them more than a year to come up with approval for a new tennis pavilion, for a new fence at the White House. For Donald Trump to circumvent this planning commission, that goes against the law. And the media can't report that or can't explain that. It's just, oh, it's demolition day at the White House. It's demolition day at the White House. I mean, it's
why
it's
I hate them, David. Why I've gotten so passionate and said there are exceptions among corporate media. There are some great folks, but overall, I hate all of these entities. Everybody should unsubscribe, stop watching, cut the cord. I mean, because they're just part of larger monopolies. They're just there to as some throwaway part of a bigger organization. They have there's no relation between what they do now and what their purpose was in the First Amendment, which was to hold people to account. And you can't just say you're telling the truth. Oh well, we don't want to be biased. The truth can't be biased. It's the truth. And if you don't tell people what happened, you don't have to go into a Donald Trump, that feces he was dropping on people. That's actually what he's made of, which is maybe what I would have said. But what they could do is say he's demolishing the East Wing over here, and that's illegal. And that would educate people, and that's their role. Just like on the Epstein files, just like on the No Kings March and everything else. But they don't. They do, and it's been my argument for the longest time. Again, there's numerous factors have gone into this. It's not any one of them, but without corporate media, Donald Trump could not have been elected in 2024.
100%.
It's because there's that 33, 35, 37, whatever percent of hardcore, idiots that are always going to vote for him, and do all that. And there were people on Kamala's side, but there's that other kind of 12 to, or so, maybe more percent of Americans who are working hard. They're not paying close attention. They're not ideological. They don't really know. And in the end of the day, when you've got this vast right-wing media just constantly smearing whoever the Democrat is, corporate media repeats some of it, and then corporate media both sides everything else and doesn't tell people the truth. Like if they just showed that video of him pooping on everything, they wouldn't even have to comment on it. Just showed it to everybody. People would get what we're dealing with here, or one of his rants at 2 a.m., but they don't.
I mean, you remember the war on Christmas that Fox had said that, I think it was Bill Clinton or Barack Obama, who knows, but they said that the Democrats had declared war on Christmas because Democrats wanted to say happy holidays. Can you imagine the reaction from Fox News if a Bill Clinton or a Barack Obama or a Joe Biden had created this, AI and posted it out of literally pooping on conservatives? They would have gone.
You don't have to imagine. Look at their reaction to his debate, Joe Biden's debate, and you can imagine, like, to any if he'd done anything remotely untoward, what they would do. I mean, look at their reaction.
Tan suit. 2 words. Tan suit.
Yeah. Yes. Obama in the tan suit.
Remember when Obama, also he saluted with the coffee in his hand? This guy is sending those troops into cities unprepared to do what he's trying to have them do, because they're not meant to do that. And this guy doesn't show up to funerals of soldiers. Instead, he goes golfing. But, Obama once saluted a general or whoever it was while holding a cup of coffee. I think it was more like while having a little more melanin in his skin would be the more honest answer there. But I mean, that's been the story for 20 to 30 years now. That predated Trump. And that's why I've long been angered by them. Post-Trump, it got so bad that I just unsubscribed from it all and just have nothing to do with any of it, because it's such bullshit. And it honestly, it's destroyed our country. We wouldn't live, because that other 12%, I promise you, wouldn't end up in a position where they're like, they all are terrible. That's what I'm hearing everywhere. But at least Trump's a good businessman, which, they hear from like stupid shit on that, they'll say on MSNBC, well, he was, they'll still repeat that stuff, even on Democratic channels, on other corporate media, because he was on a TV show called The Apprentice and fired people. He went bankrupt 5 times, you dumb fucks. Like, maybe get that, and so I've known some of those people who are like, yeah, I didn't like either of them, but Trump seemed like the lesser of two evils. None of those people would be voting for Trump if they'd seen the string of things he wrote, sent out. They would think he was fucking nuts, like he is, and they wouldn't have voted for him. And I hold our media directly responsible for that.
Yeah, I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV news in years, and I feel all the more informed for it. But my mom, who lives in South Florida, love her dearly. She votes Democrat. She considers herself liberal, but she's like boomer liberal, watches, CNN kind of liberal. And she now thinks I am this like radicalized lefty, like, oh, well, where you live out in Seattle, you've been radicalized. You are so far to the left. And you know, we're not always the best judges of our own selves and where we've moved, but I'm like, my views haven't really changed in the last decade or so. I think I'm liberal, but I'm like, there's certainly people out here who are left of me. However, Lawrence and I talk a lot about the Overton window
Yeah.
on Gen Xy and the Daily Whatever show, and it's that notion of there's a safe window where
What's possible.
discourse happens and what's possible. And if you keep proposing crazy ideas on one side or the other, and they are substantiated, the window moves in that direction. And it's moved so far to the right that my mom didn't know about the airplane AI thing. When I mentioned it, she was sort of like, "You're crazy." And I'm like, I literally have eyes, Mom. I
See
watched
that I don't want to cut you up, but that, because it's important. That's the point I'm making.
that's
right?
it, right?
I had somebody I knew who was like, I voted for Trump as the lesser of two evils, and I was like, oh, Mr. Sharks and Batteries or whatever. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I'd explained to this person that he'd gotten up and obsessed about sharks and fucking batteries, and
Right.
which he would choose to die from if he were stuck on a boat and there was a battery and a shark. And he did this 4, 5, 6 different times of things. This person didn't know. And
No.
and this is somebody that consumes media. The only way they could not know is because our media doesn't report it. And that's why your mom didn't know that. And
Yeah.
again, that's corporate media failing.
Yes. She was like, well, Biden had a lot of flaws. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, every
Right.
president is flawed. A president isn't a king, or never has been. They don't get to go in and wave a wand and do whatever they want. Everything involves compromise. And, you know, we're probably not going to be 100% aligned with any leader ever. That's
Every
normal.
president has flaws. This one's the most flawed human
Right.
alive, perhaps. I mean,
Exactly.
there's literally not a human flaw or any of the 7 deadly sins or like anything else, a commandment he hasn't broken. Whatever your belief system, look at it. He's
Right.
fucked it up. I promise you.
No arguments here. And it's why places like Blue Ant Media and, you know, all of us here on Substack and YouTube and everywhere else, it's why it's so important. And I'm really fascinated by this moment in time in media, because it's really the first time that there are these tools available, so that when when the media, the traditional legacy media, whatever you want to call it, is being so complicit with this regime. And I feel like we need a stronger verb than complicit, but let's just use that for now. So they're firing people who have views that they don't like, or people who are ethical are choosing to leave. Hello, present company. And where are they going? To places like Substack, forming entities like Blue Ant Media to keep us informed. At the same time, there's also this groundswelling of independent boots on the ground people like me and like Lawrence and like Erin in the morning. I love her, like really niche news reporters who are keeping us informed. Like I'm really fascinated by where that's going to head and end up. Because, you know, there aren't the dollars here yet to support things like long, deep investigative reporting in the field. But also, is the traditional media paying for stuff like that if it's not aligned to
Few
what the
places
administration
are,
wants?
you know, it's all what you consider, you know, I would say the few outlets among you know, and I'll say traditional media here because I won't just say, I mean, when I talk about the major ones, I just say corporate media because it's just true. I mean, they're owned by large corporations. The other one I often will use is just monopoly media. They're all big parts of big monopolies. But
Who do
Rolling
you think still
Stone,
doing good
I think
work?
Rolling Stone still does some of that kind of
Oh,
stuff. You
yeah.
know, I don't know overall if they have a larger owner, if they're part of a monopoly. Do you know, David? I don't know, but
I don't know, but you know,
New Yorker here and there will do that. They had what's his name doing
Yes.
it for a while. You know,
Well,
Frank
there is
Sinatra's
there
son,
is a
not
link.
really Woody Allen's son, but Frank Sinatra's son. What's his name?
Well, there's Ronan Farrow. Yeah, he still does some investigative reporting. But there is a link to all of this to how we started the conversation, because we started talking about, you know, concerns about the next generation, kids who are growing up now.
Yes.
And one of the things that gives me some hope, well, first, the stuff that freaks me out is that we have an entire generation now for 10 years who may think that Donald Trump's behavior, that's normal and acceptable in our political leaders, to have somebody who's violates the Constitution.
Not just in our leaders, but for them too. He's modeled that behavior.
People are growing up thinking, oh, this is fine. It's okay to have a leader like this.
Leaders are bullies.
the way that younger people in particular are now consuming media, they're turning off, or they're not even turning on the mainstream media. They're getting their news and information from YouTube, from various sort of smaller sort of entities, where there is a voice for people like us who can say, no, 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 this is not normal. This is against the law. There needs to be accountability and responsibility for our leaders. And so I feel like the silver lining, as I fear for my own kids and the society that they are growing up in, is that, well, at least how they're consuming information is going to be very different from how we did. And I think they will benefit and have a stronger sense of morality and justice than if they were simply watching the mainstream media where all this crap gets normalized.
Yeah, I think that's.
They're finding the right places. Yes.
Can I add something else to that? Like, so? I mean, there's the downside of, you have Trump, and that's what I've worried, modeling this behavior. So it's not just they think it's okay for leaders. And you're right, David. Like the ones following up, especially on the Republican side, I mean, they're all competing to be as awful as they can be now. But it's what it's, I've seen things, one of my kids' schools where somebody, put some reference to blacks committing all crimes or most crimes, and they're only whatever. And the yearbook had to they had to take it out. I mean, what it tells kids they can get away with and the message it sends. So that is the negative side. We say the positive side is that when this stuff wasn't out in the open and used to be more quiet, you talk about like gentlemen's handshakes or gentlemen's agreements. We got Penn State and we got Jeffrey Epstein and we got the Catholic Church for 2,000 years. I went to a very I went to an obnoxious private school in New York, a high school, massive scandal of these proportions that they didn't report that was going on while I was there. It's great that in that way we didn't have a president talking about it out in the open, but maybe we needed to air all this crap out so we could deal with it, because it isn't going to be helpful to your daughters or your son, David, or both of my sons or anybody's kids if these kinds of things are going on at churches or temples or mosques or in like the YMCA or at like a country club or any just wherever these kinds of things have gone on, and it's just been sort of wink wink, we don't talk about it.
Right.
I mean, that's a real problem, and that used to occur, and it was shameful, so you didn't talk about it. And now maybe in that one way, Donald Trump will never do anything good on purpose. It's not in his, if he did, he'd have to immediately reverse it to feel better about himself. But maybe being as awful as he is has brought some things out in the open that we can discuss and air out.
So it's like this is a giant boil or giant zit that's just popped everywhere, and your hope is it's going to not spread and fester, but that we're going to get the antiseptic out.
Well, but it's not that. It's that I don't look. I mean, some of this happened before Trump, right? I mean, Penn State predated that, and the thing at my school predated that, but we didn't, and I don't even remember like when the movie movie Spotlight that talked about obviously the stuff with the Catholic Church and when all that came out. And I'm just picking a few institutions. There obviously are so many more. The point is that I think in a lot of places people just believed what they were told and did not believe it was going on. So it's not about like where, maybe we'll get lucky and they'll be antiseptic. I mean, how we handle it is up to us and what we do. But nobody can now claim they didn't know that this was taking place at the Catholic Church. They didn't know this was taking place at Penn State, that kind of thing. Like we know it was. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? And I think that fact that no one can deny it anymore is a good thing.
Fair.
I'm trying to find positives here, folks.
Silver lining, man.
And speaking of that, Jeffrey Epstein, as we talked about before, I mean, again, it's that horrible situation that never should have gotten anywhere close to what it did. But obviously, many famous figures, others were part of it or didn't talk about it, allowed it to happen. This stuff's coming out. It's going to come out. Mike Johnson can hide in every cloakroom that he wants, in the Capitol. But in the end, there's a 218th vote there. He can't not swear her in forever. I don't think.
Yeah,
And
we should make bets on that. Like when women are expecting babies and you bet on like the gender and the weight and the due date and
yeah,
whoever
what
gets
will happen?
we should make one about like
So
when will she get voted in? When will the Epstein files get the vote it needs?
I
And
hate
then
Look
to
at
we'll
rain on
look
I
who we
hate to
have here.
rain on the
Ellie
parade here.
Leonard, who we've had on before, is saying
oh Ellie,
Virginia.
hi.
Ellie's awesome. She's like, Virginia is naming names. I mean, I
Yes.
haven't seen it all yet, so we're gonna have to have you on for more. But I
Yeah.
obviously did see the part about what's his face, the prince. She said a famous former prime minister, which is gross because I know obviously somebody's name that was supposed to have been in there. Um, I mean, I don't know if I should even say because again, I have no idea if this is who it is or whatever. But again, when somebody had a list that wasn't sort of vetted, so this is not definitively true. I want to be very clear. Tony Blair did pop up there.
Well,
Um,
I don't want to make either of you super sick, but I'm nauseated. But I feel obligated because of what I've
Chronic.
heard from a couple of friends in DC that one of the theories that's now sort of going around is the reason Mike Johnson keeps delaying the swearing in of Adelaide Grijalva is not because he can stop that, but because he thinks that there's a Democrat or two in the House who are sick and elderly and might die at any time. And if he can have them
of course.
die, and then there has to be a special election, then it delays it even more. So he's the rumblings are, and I've been trying to think, oh my God, which members of Congress were Democrats? Eleanor Holmes Norton. I mean, who's sick and sort of frail? But that's how cynical Mike Johnson has become. That he's waiting for a Democrat to die, possibly, before he swears in Adelaide Grijalva, so that her signature will make it 217, not 218.
I mean, I'm sure it's something like that. That piece of shit goes out and refers to himself as a Christian ever. And again, this is media failing, and they just let him get away with that when he, I mean, any pick apart, like literally pick up the New Testament, open it to any page, and he's ignored whatever it is that was on that page.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
grotesque.
incredible that this man gets away with calling himself a Christian.
Well, and
You
how
know,
does he get away with it? That's what, Dana, what do you think about? I mean, how do you think Mike Johnson's able to sort of get away with this or still have so many followers who consider themselves Christian conservatives, et cetera, et cetera?
You're asking the agnostic Jew about the like psychology of conservative Christianity. The Daily Whatever Show has had some far wiser people about this than I. Melissa Corrigan, who I know you've met, and Stephanie Drury of Stuff Christian Culture Likes. They both helped educate me around the kind of top-down patrilineal ethos of the culture of like, I'm trying to remember how Stephanie worded this because it really clicked a light bulb off for me of like, actually it was both of them because Melissa talked about how post World War II, this goes way back, of these PTSD suffering soldiers and presenting them with a new brand of Christianity. Again, I'm not the person to talk to about this. I'm paraphrasing them, but it was this idea of the comfort of Christianity and Christ, but it was presented with this very American model around prosperity and money and this very top down, God, man, family, just patrilineal way. And so that they see Trump as godlike because he's rich and rich is godly in this viewpoint. And of course, he is a white man. So they just don't question. And I think there is a real sense of that when it's faith-based, it lives here, not here. And so they probably see Mike Johnson as protecting someone who they think is godlike. I mean, you've seen all the grotesque memes, right? Of like Trump is Jesus. And I've seen the signs that are like, God is my savior and Trump is my king, or I'm paraphrasing what they say, but
they've also turned him into
they're not
Rocky
reason-based
Balboa too, which is
arguments.
sort of funny because
Sorry?
he's never had those muscles even when he was like
No.
in his
Oh
30s
God,
or 40s.
no.
Or
It's
any muscle
grotesque.
tone probably
And like
whatsoever. I
weirdly
mean, unless like the
sexualized.
Big Macs back then provided some kind of muscle tone. I don't know. But
I don't think they ever did on Gen X. I remember way back, and they never resulted in muscle tone. But I think that Democrats' challenge and Republicans, especially MAGA, like Republicans, fall in line.
Mm.
And so they're just like, oh, I'm sure they have some mythology around this. Like, and I'm going to try to, Lawrence calls this my weave when I'm bringing together disparate things. But in my mind, I'm bringing together several strings of this conversation of, we were talking about young people consuming media to bring truth forward and all of that. As a memoirist, I'm very fascinated with narrative arc and the sort of beginning, middle, end of stories. So bear with me here, that when it comes to how my kids are consuming media and how I'm starting to on social media, reels, right? We are very accustomed to seeing reels. Substack auto cuts them for us, right? So they're, if you don't have a producer,
it's so nice of them. It saves us some time and everything.
It does, but they don't tend to have not even a narrative arc. They're incomplete.
No, they don't do a very good job. They pick like random ones.
But we have become, like, I find myself when I'm bored scrolling through reels on Instagram or whatever, and I'm watching shows, I don't know what they are, or I'm seeing snippets of things that are not cohesive and logical because it's AI slop. So we are becoming as a culture very accustomed to you sort of get the vibe of, in fact, even the word vibe. You can't quite say what it means, but you get it, right? You're getting a vibe from these micro stories, but you're not using your critical thinking of like, how did it end? Does it make sense? Was there a narrative arc? There's a lack of storytelling, right? And I think that's starting to apply culturally of, why is Mike Johnson holding this up? If you're not someone who's paying a lot of attention and you're someone who's a loyalist to Trump, you're just like, well, I'm sure it makes sense. I'm just not getting the full real.
Again,
but I trust these men to do the right thing.
That takes us back to corporate media again.
Yes.
Because if all they did was just told the truth, no bias, no whatever, and said and asked the question, and gave potential answers, which is we don't, he won't answer the question. Here are some of the reasons, and gave the reason David gave, and a potential few others, and more people will be educated and understand what he's doing right now. But they don't do that.
And they were looking for the root causing in the why sometimes, of like, it's not just, oh, the wing is down, like, well, what's the story? Why is it okay? Like, dig a level in and have a point of view and carry it through. I mean, you can also look in, while I'm weaving at other things, of like all the cuts to education that have been coming for decades, but are accelerating at such a rapid pace now. Like, kids are not learning civics. They're not learning how to think critically necessarily. And then we're up against these scenarios where folks like us, who have a bit more experience under our belt, we had a different kind of education system, are asking questions. And we have a mouthpiece, but it's nowhere near the scope of people who are just turning into their nightly news and are like, let's see, whatever they're presenting me, that's what I need to care about. So I haven't watched the news to see how it's being framed. I can't fathom that they're like, someone won an election. Actually, I can fathom someone won an election and we're not going to let them in. I mean, what was 2020 all about on January 6th? Right. The same thing. And there are people who for 4 years were like, that's what's right and what should happen. And then what happened? They were vindicated. They got their person back in office. He pardoned all of those folks. So to them,
thank you, Merrick Garland.
Thank you, Merrick Garland. And to them, maybe
you really did a great job protecting the reputation of the DOJ. That was a good long-term thinking there.
Really great.
If I make it non-political at all right now and don't go after the people that tried to overthrow the government, I'm sure they'll never try again. And then they won't take over the DOJ and completely destroy its reputation.
Definitely
good fucking
not.
thinking there, pal. Thank you. You're a great attorney general.
There was no risk of that ever, right? Thanks for protecting us. But it does, I'm sure, in some convoluted way make sense, right? Of like, oh, sure, she was elected, but an election is no longer a norm that has to be 100% honored because that's already been chipped away. That's the Overton window, right?
That's what they do, yeah.
It wasn't, like, sorry, I'm having a mild epiphany on your show here. It wasn't that long ago that it was like, well, that person won. You have to let them serve their term and then you can try to get them voted out. But like, they won. End of story.
I mean, there's so many things like that. That's the old boiling frog sort of metaphor for fascism. Like, would we
Yes.
have even 2 years ago, would most Americans have even accepted that a president would send troops into a city? I don't think so. Would they have
6 months
said
ago.
would they have
No.
said, "I will be," would they have said, I predict we're gonna be seeing, yeah, we're gonna see video of a bunch of masked thugs who look essentially like the SS and don't identify themselves, take out sticks or guns, smash windows, and pull kids out of those windows or whatever and take them away. I would have, I mean, not in the
That,
America.
that, that
I
was
could have,
you and I remember, Cliff, that if you would go all the way back to sort of to Waco in the early 90s, I mean, that was the dystopian future that the people on the far right said, this is
Yep.
why we need our guns, because we don't
Right.
want federal agents breaking into our businesses and into our homes and taking our kids and taking our things away. Well, now it's
Right.
happening.
It turns out they were always full of shit and always I used to say one thing all the time, which is if you want to know what Republicans think, whenever they say that, complain about something or they say that that people deserve something, what you need to you just
Protection.
need to add a couple words at the end of every sentence, which is for white people.
Right.
And if you do that, you're fine. Like we think
It's like,
we have the right to not have our property taken blah, 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 for white people. We have I mean,
yeah.
that's all they give a shit about in the end.
It's like the fortune cookie thing where you put in bed at the end of them
Exactly.
to make
It's like
fortune
that.
cookies funny. Yeah.
Just add for white people to the end of anything Republicans say, and then it makes sense. Otherwise, if you apply it to everybody, it doesn't make sense.
Hey, Dana, where can people find you? And what are you working on these days?
Yeah. Oh my God. See, whenever we have a good show, time flies, and there we are. It's 2:58. So,
Oh my gosh. My primary publication here on Substack is called Gen XE. So that's GEN. Did you see how I just forgot how to spell for a hot second?
that's because we're Gen X and we're all getting old. I mean, what are we gonna do?
GENXY.io if you just want the URL, but that's where Lawrence Winterman and I publish our writing. It is also where we publish the Daily Whatever podcast 6 days a week. So you can find me here live on Substack every morning, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, which, yes, that's 7 a.m. my time, as well as 9 a.m. on Saturdays. And what's so not quite ironic, but I'm a memoirist. Lawrence is a science fiction writer. We have our things we love doing and what we came to Substack to do. But you know what? Everything is political now.
I know. I talked about in your show the other day.
Yeah.
I'd love to be talking rock and roll and great movies, and politics is
Yes.
important to me. It'd be part of it, but there's so much to talk about here, And I do have to ask you a question though, because you've known
Yes.
Lawrence for 47 years.
Yes.
Like Winterman can't be his real name, right? Like Winterman, that's some made up bullshit. Like
It is not.
I'd be like, to be like, hi, my name is Cliff. I'm awesome, and you should love me. Would be my last name, right? Like, I mean, it can't really be Winterman. Am I right?
You are not correct,
Damn it.
unless
I thought you made
his
that shit up.
father changed it. Lawrence Winterman has been his name his whole life, and my maiden name started with a W. And so throughout school, because teachers wouldn't think of things like maybe you're short and you need to sit in the front, or you have ADHD or bad vision. No, it was just always alphabetical. And so I always sat right in front of Lawrence in every class, and that's how we became best friends.
That's
Can I
awesome.
tell you?
Are there any other kids you went to school with that you want to take the opportunity now to give a shout out to, or that you're still friends with? Or I mean, and where did you guys grow up?
South Florida, Coral
South
Springs.
Florida.
Yeah.
It was a nice place till Republicans took it over.
It was not my favorite even then, and it's atrocious now. My mom lives in Delray Beach now, which is it's really nice actually. It's right by the water, and I love it. And one of the things I love about it is an intersection close to her house. In spite of it being a red state and blah blah blah, was this beautiful rainbow, a pride rainbow at the intersection, and she just told me that those fuckers just destroyed it. It's no longer. All of them in Florida.
God, I hate it. We were going down regularly.
South Florida.
We used to go to Key West, and they had it there.
Yeah.
And for a while, DeSantis told them to get rid of it, and they said, "Fuck you." So I wonder if they've come in and they've forced them to get rid of it yet at this point. If anybody knows who's been to Key West, let me know, because they were arguing. They were like, "Nope, sorry, try it."
Cliff, I will research that and take that on. I'll try to get an answer back to you. I'll have my people look into my people. But if I get to shout out one person,
Yes.
Denise Chowdhury. She's Denise and Lawrence and I were like the threesome, and I mean, not
Yay,
that kind of
Denise!
threesome.
Great,
But
Denise!
Denise.
Denise, you're awesome.
Yes, she is awesome. I don't know if she's here listening because I can't see who's listening. I just see us. But Lawrence has always been a winnerman. And
I'm right there with you. We
yes,
love Lawrence, and we love him even more because he introduced us to you. So, Dana, thanks so much
thank
for
you.
being on the program and joining us and sharing your insights and introducing us
Course.
to your columns. It's fascinating.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to be here. You asked what I'm working on right now. I have like
Yeah.
16 memoir pieces started. And if the news could slow down for like a fucking hot second so I can get that part of my brain back and get to writing, I would love it. But yeah, they're mostly about, I write a lot about relationships and dating as a Gen X person, or at least historically I have. Kind of cultural observations. I have about 5 pieces started like that, but I'm like, how can I write about this right now when the world is on fire? So if the world could just quiet, if y'all have any strings to pull, really, really appreciate that.
I'm going to work on that, definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Dana, thank you so much for being here. Thank you. I mean, it's been fun, a home and away for us, like yesterday and today.
I
We'll
know.
definitely have you back here.
I would love
And
that.
I think I'm going on your, what's the Friday show? I always get
Oh,
fuck you,
yeah.
fuck it, fuck everyone.
We have a feature every Friday on the Daily Whatever Show called Fucked Up Friday. And we started this right when we just started in April. And just for indulge me for a minute, because I think this is important. We did it because we knew that the frog was going to boil and boil. And so we started in April with like, oh my God, what are the atrocities this week? And we want a record of like how we're descending. But we also are doing it to keep each other buoyant, to keep our whole community buoyant as the news is going, and to say you're not crazy. These things are awful.
No.
The premise of the show is we invite someone on, and Cliff, you're coming on November 21st. Our Fridays are pretty booked out because this is a popular feature. And each of us brings what we think is the most fucked up story of the week, and we pitch the reasons why.
I can't wait.
Contextualize it, and we swear a lot. And then
one
the
is I know
audience votes.
David has to leave to go get his kids, and we're already
Yes.
past 3:00.
Okay. David,
no,
you
it's
should
all right.
come on
I just
now.
don't. I want to make sure. And the other thing is, but even if though David's leaving, you have to invite David to come on and do that at some point too.
Yes.
And we have to bring Lawrence on this show because now everybody's going to be like, Lawrence, we love Lawrence because we love Dana and we got to meet the other half. And so
I know, and his name's Winner Man. How can he not be cool?
He is.
Thanks, guys. I
the
appreciate
very
it.
best
Thanks,
human.
Dana. Thanks,
Thank you
Cliff.
guys
Thanks,
guys,
so
I'm
much.
gonna just say goodbye to everybody. You guys take care. Thank you as always for being here, David. Thank you, Dana. You're awesome, and hopefully I will
You're awesome.
see you soon.
Can we just talk about music one show too, Cliff? Can we just get on and be like, we're not going to talk politics?
There's a
Just gonna talk
plan
about
for a
bands.
lot of that going forward. Trust me, because I need to.
Good.
I need to get to music and film and some sports stuff and
Yes.
to I mean, like there's just
Joy.
all the things that I'm passionate about outside of here: beer, tequila, the
Def
whole
Leppard,
9
all of
yards.
it. I founded a music website. We got to do this. We're gonna talk tunes one day.
We absolutely
you,
are. Seriously, let's do that.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Take
Well,
care,
thank you
Cliff.
for being here. Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. You have a great day. All right.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. All right, you crazy kids. We have our usual tomorrow coming up on Substack. That will be our amped up Substack version, 2 p.m. Eastern. There's still a guest who is supposed to confirm who hasn't yet, so we are waiting. But you know what? We've got a few other pretty awesome folks in the wings if this one doesn't work out. So you should come by. It'll be fun. It'll be an hour. It'll be on Substack, the crazy live, phones, weird angles and crazy shit. And it'll be a good time. Otherwise, thank you for your support. I want to thank the folks that, Starch Manning. Thank you, my friend. First, thank you to Ida, who's a new member, which is pretty freaking awesome. Thanks for joining our little band of merry men and women. I don't know. In any case, and Starch Manning, which is, I believe, a new entry here. Thank you. First, so when they got the Voting Rights Act, assuming Dems lose more seats in the House, can Dems win the Senate? Then what? So when they got the Voting Rights Act, assuming Dems lose, well, you shouldn't assume Dems will lose more seats in the House. What California is doing, what New York is doing, we don't know how this is going to shake out. I'm seeing in Ohio where they're going to try to steal 3 seats. But if there's anything close to a fair election, and the wave that will be against Donald Trump will be enormous. He's got a 37% approval rating right now. The more important one is a 61% disapproval rating. And when people hate somebody, they will hate vote. Trust me. So I wouldn't go with the assumption that Dems are not going to win the House back. I would, especially with the president in power, the opposite party normally does anyhow. We all have to prepare for what Trump will try to do to block elections. And we all have to be proactive about making sure every Democrat and every person in favor of democracy and everyone else does what is necessary, no matter what, to make sure elections happen and are free and fair. On the Senate side, I think we've got a bunch of great candidates. So, I think we got a great shot in Maine. We've got Sherrod Brown running here in Ohio, who only lost by 3 points when Kamala lost by 11. We've got Roy Cooper is running in North Carolina, has won their 4 different races there for attorney general and governor. We've got who else? I know we've got a really couple good candidates in Iowa, and I can't think of who they are. We've got James Tallarico. I know Texas is very tough, but listen to that guy speak and the stuff he's saying. It's pretty incredible. I think there's a number of places that will be in play, and I think Trump will put more of them in play. So we'll see about that. And then Starch, you also came in with something else. What is that? What do we have? Just a win. Oh, okay. That's then what? Then win? I guess that was the question. Lefty Gramps with a $5, so $2 super chat from and a $5 super chat from Starch. Thank you for that. Lefty Gramps giving us a $5 super chat, as he is always supportive of all the shows I do. Great show today, Cliff. Thank you so much. Guys, I thought about it, and I'm going to stop doing the, who's coming with me thing, just because I feel like we give you a great show here, and I'm just going to say, I'll give you a minute or so as I'm talking here. I hope you're going to appreciate it enough that you'll say, for, a 99-cent super sticker or $1.99 or whatever it is worth supporting the work we do, so that we can afford to bring in the people we bring in and the machinery and the whole damn thing, and keep doing it. Because it's, this is what we need to keep going. So no little dance for me this time, but I do hope that you will find it in yourselves to support us, because that's the only way we can do this thing. So you obviously saw what we did today. You know about the show on Substack tomorrow. It's only on Substack, so remember, you can go by and subscribe. Blueamp.co. That is blueamp.co. Judy of Ghouls, a new member. Thumbs up. Thank you very much, Judy. If you're a new member here, fantastic. I would say go to blueamp.co and check out our Substack also, where we're doing lots. And, I think that's about it. We got into some of the Epstein stuff. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to talk to our friend Ellie Leonard, who may or may not still be here, and see if we can get some more information on what's going on there. But meantime, always a pleasure. Always enjoy the show. Always enjoy chatting with all of you. And, not much left to say except for, my friends, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell. Have a great day.